Zara found the receipt at the bottom of a shoebox that smelled like dust and old perfume. It was thin paper, slightly curled at the edges, like it had been folded and unfolded too many times. One line made her throat tighten. A funeral home. A name she had never heard. And her husband's signature at the bottom. Before we get into this, tell me where you're watching from today, city or state. And if you're here for stories that protect dignity, fairness, and real accountability, tap like, subscribe, and settle in. The house was quiet in that particular way it gets when someone has already left for the day, and you are the only heartbeat moving through the rooms. Zara stood in the upstairs study, surrounded by cardboard boxes stamped with Ethan's neat handwriting. Taxes. Contracts. Old bank stuff. She had asked him to let her help organize the paperwork. Newly married meant newly merged lives, and she believed in the unglamorous work of building something that could last. Ethan had smiled like it was sweet, like it was a harmless hobby. "Knock yourself out," he had said. "Just don't stress yourself. I've got it handled." Handled. That word always sounded clean until you looked underneath it. Zara slid another stack of folders aside, then lifted the shoebox. Inside were receipts, folded letters, a few random keys, and a single heavy envelope sealed with tape that had gone yellow with age. Her first thought was that it must be from Ethan's parents, something left behind when they downsized. A funeral would make sense then. Sad, but explainable. But the name printed at the top did not match any story she had ever heard. Simone Bennett. Zara said it out loud, quiet as a prayer. It didn't fit with the names Ethan mentioned in passing, not the names on Christmas cards, not the names in framed photos, not the names he used when talking about his past like it was a finished chapter. She turned the receipt over, paid in full, cremation services, private viewing, and a date that made her blink twice because her brain refused to accept it on the first pass. June 14th, 2022. Zara looked at the calendar on the wall, the one she had put up last week, color-coded like her mind preferred life to be. June 14th. She knew that date, not because it was romantic, because Ethan talked about it like it was a turning point. The day everything finally came together, he had said once, swirling ice in a glass, looking past her shoulder as if he was watching it replay somewhere on the wall. She had assumed it was a business deal, a lucky break. Now she stared at the receipt until the letters blurred. She didn't hear the front door open. She didn't hear footsteps. She only snapped back into her body when her phone buzzed in her palm, almost slipping out of her hand. A message from Ethan. "On my way into a meeting. Don't forget dinner at Marlowe's, 7 sharp. Wear that black dress." Zara's thumb hovered over the screen. She could have replied with a normal heart emoji. She could have played the new wife, excited for reservations and candlelight. Instead, she took a photo of the receipt, front and back, and sent nothing. Then she put it back in the shoebox exactly how she found it. She closed the lid. She placed the box back in the corner. And she stood there for a long moment, breathing through something that felt like the start of a storm. Zara was not the kind of woman who exploded first and asked questions later. She was the kind of woman who listened, who watched, who waited for patterns. Her mom had raised her with 3 rules that sounded simple until life tested them. If it feels off, it is off. If they rush you, they are hiding something. And the truth always leaves paper. So Zara did not confront Ethan that night. She went to Marlowe's. She wore the black dress. She laughed at the right places. She let him place his hand on the small of her back like a claim, and she watched him with new eyes. Ethan Caldwell was handsome in a way that made strangers trust him quickly. Tall, clean lines, steady voice, the kind of man who could order for the table and somehow make it feel like a gift. He talked about his company over starter plates, real estate holdings, redevelopment projects, community revitalization words that sounded warm while money moved cold underneath them. He asked Zara about her day, and when she answered, he nodded at the right beats like he was ticking boxes. When the waiter brought dessert, Ethan's phone lit up. He glanced down. His jaw tightened for half a second, then smoothed again. He smiled at Zara. "Just work," he said. Zara smiled back. "Of course." But inside her head, a quieter voice had started narrating everything like evidence. The jaw, the phone, the word work as a blanket over whatever he didn't want touched. When they got home, Ethan went upstairs and showered. Zara stayed down in the kitchen, wiping a spotless counter with slow, steady movements. Then she did what she always did when her mind needed something solid. She opened her laptop. She typed Simone Bennett into a search bar. Nothing obvious popped up at first. A few social profiles with no photos, a couple of old mentions in a community newsletter, nothing that shouted funeral. So she refined it. Simone Bennett, Charlotte, North Carolina. Simone Bennett obituary. Simone Bennett cremation. She got a single hit that made her sit up straighter. A probate notice buried on a county website in tiny text. Estate of Simone Bennett, filed June 29, 2022. Administrator, Ethan Caldwell. Zara stared. Her husband's name sat there like it belonged, like it had always been there. Her fingers went cold as she clicked. The details were limited, but enough to make her lungs tighten. Simone Bennett had an estate, which meant, to the county, Simone Bennett had died. Yet Ethan had told Zara his previous marriage ended years ago. A clean divorce, no drama, no tragedy, just two people who wanted different things. He had said it casually, almost bored, like it wasn't worth remembering. Zara closed the laptop slowly, then opened it again, because denial is a reflex and she needed to make sure the screen hadn't lied. The words were still there. Estate, filed, administrator, Ethan Caldwell, she whispered to the empty kitchen. "Who are you?" Upstairs, the shower ran. Zara listened to the water like it was covering up more than steam. And right then, another retention button clicked into place, quiet, but sharp. The date of the funeral receipt and the date Ethan said his life came together were not just close. They were the same month. Zara stayed up long after Ethan fell asleep. She didn't scroll mindlessly. She didn't spiral into dramatic fantasies. She did what she did best. She built a timeline. June 14th, 2022. Funeral home receipt, paid in full. Cremation. June 29th, 2022. Estate filed. Administrator Ethan Caldwell. And then she remembered something else Ethan had mentioned, almost as a brag during one of their early dates. "Bought my first commercial building in June 2022, he had said, leaning back proud. "People talk about luck. I talk about timing." Zara opened a new tab and pulled up county property records. Most counties were public, some were clunky, all were searchable if you had patience. She typed Ethan Caldwell, dozens of results. Then she filtered by year. And there it was. A commercial building transfer recorded June 15th, 2022, one day after the funeral receipt, transferred into a new LLC with a name that sounded bland on purpose, Caldwell Meridian Holdings. The next entry made her blink. A residential property transfer recorded June 16th, 2022. A lake house she had seen in Ethan's Instagram archive posted years ago with a caption about peace. Transferred, not sold, transferred, and the grammar line made her mouth go dry. Simone Bennett. Zara leaned back in her chair slowly, like sudden movements might break the fragile reality she was now looking at. She was not just seeing a secret, she was seeing a pattern, a death, then transfers, then filings, then new wealth that Ethan talked about like a miracle. Zara didn't sleep much. She lay beside Ethan, listening to his breathing, feeling like she was lying next to a stranger who wore her husband's face. In the morning, he kissed her forehead and told her he had a busy day. "Don't work too hard on those boxes," he joked. Zara smiled. "I won't." The front door closed behind him, and Zara moved. She went back into the study and pulled the shoebox out again. This time she didn't just look at the receipt. She looked at everything underneath it. A folded letter with a funeral home logo, a handwritten note on lined paper, and a photocopy of a driver's license that was faded like it had been copied too many times. Simone Bennett. The photo showed a woman with kind eyes and a tired smile, the kind that looked like she had learned to make peace with not being protected. Zara stared at the face. Then she noticed something small that made her throat sting. The hair. A natural curl pattern she recognized, because it looked like her own when she let it breathe. Zara's chest tightened for a different reason now. Simone wasn't just a name. Simone was a black woman, and Zara knew, instantly, how easy it would have been for a man like Ethan to control the narrative if something happened to her. Because Zara had lived in a world where people heard black woman in distress and translated it into complicated, unstable. Probably her own fault. Zara's hands shook once, just once. Then she steadied them. She scanned the letter. It was from the funeral home, confirming services rendered, with a line that hit her like a slap. Next of kin authorization on file. Zara turned the page, searching for the authorization. She found it. A form with a signature. Ethan Caldwell, and beneath it, a box checked. Spouse. Zara swallowed hard. Ethan had been married to Simone, but he never told Zara Simone's name. He never told Zara Simone died. He told her divorce. He told her clean. He told her boring. Why? Zara took photos of everything. She didn't remove originals yet. She didn't leave gaps. She replaced the papers exactly as found. Then she put her coat on and drove to the county clerk's office. The building smelled like fluorescent lights and old carpet. Zara took a number and sat on a plastic chair, watching people shuffle forms and speak in low voices like the walls listened. When her number was called, she stepped up. "I need copies of a probate filing," she said calmly. "Estate of Simone Bennett." The clerk glanced at her, then typed, "Are you family?" Zara didn't hesitate. "I'm assisting with records for a civil matter," she said, which was true enough to not be a lie. The clerk frowned, then shrugged, the universal language of underpaid government work. "It's public," she said. "You can purchase copies." Zara paid. She waited. She received a small stack of papers that felt heavier than their weight. In her car, she read them slowly. Simone Bennett, deceased. Date of death listed. Cause of death not detailed. Address of death listed as a hospital. No obituary. No service announcement. No listed surviving family besides spouse. Spouse. Ethan Caldwell. Zara stared at that line until she could feel anger rise like heat. No listed surviving family, meaning either Simone had no one or someone had been erased. Zara drove home with the papers in her bag like contraband, and on the way, she decided something. She was going to find Simone's family. Quietly. Before Ethan sensed anything, because if Ethan had hidden a death, he would not hesitate to hide what came after discovery. That night, Ethan came home late. He kissed Zara's cheek and apologized, talking about investors, delays, stress. Zara listened with half her mind, and with the other half she watched his hands. Clean nails, no tremor, no guilt visible on the surface. When he went upstairs to change, Zara stayed in the kitchen and opened her phone again. This time, she searched Simone Bennett with one extra detail from the probate papers. An old address, a neighborhood, a zip code. And there it was. A community center newsletter from 2019, archived in a PDF with a list of volunteers. Simone Bennett, and right beneath it, Maya Bennett. Zara's pulse jumped. Maya, a sister, a cousin, a friend, a link. Zara clicked everything she could find with that name. Social profiles, old comments. A photo of a woman at a charity walk holding a sign about domestic violence awareness. Zara stared at the sign like it was a message in a bottle. She didn't message Maya that night, not yet. Instead, she kept digging. Because the next part of the pattern was starting to show itself. Every time Simone's name appeared, Ethan's money moved. Zara pulled property records again and tracked transfers linked to Simone's estate. There were more than two. There was a bank account listed in probate inventory that had been closed within weeks. There was a vehicle title transfer. There was a personal property line item that simply said, jewelry, estimated value, $10,000. And Zara knew with a cold certainty that $10,000 was either a lie or a placeholder for something larger. She checked business filings. Caldwell Meridian Holdings was created June 17, 2022. Registered agent, Ethan's longtime attorney. Mailing address, a P.O. box, a box like a hiding place. Zara sat on the edge of the bed later, listening to Ethan's breathing, and she made a decision that felt like stepping onto ice. She was going to meet Maya Bennett, but she was going to do it in daylight, in public, with a plan. The next day, Zara messaged Maya from a new email address, one that did not include her name. She kept it short, calm, respectful. I believe I have information connected to Simone Bennett's estate. I'm not law enforcement. I'm not media. If you are willing, I'd like to speak somewhere public. Maya replied 3 hours later. Who are you? How do you know my sister? Zara's fingers hovered again. She could not lie. Not here. Zara typed. My name is Zara. I recently discovered records that suggest Simone was married to someone I know. I think you deserve answers. If you do not want to meet, I understand. There was a long pause, then a reply. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Briar Street Cafe. If this is a game, don't bother coming. Zara read the message twice. Her hands were steady now, but her heart was loud. Before the meeting, Zara took another step that changed everything. She called a solicitor, not Ethan's solicitor, not anyone in Ethan's orbit. She called a woman she had met years ago at a community event, an attorney who specialized in financial fraud and civil injunctions, a black woman with sharp eyes and a voice that did not flinch, attorney Danielle Price. Danielle listened as Zara explained, careful not to sound hysterical. Zara stuck to facts, dates, documents, receipts, transfers. When Zara finished, there was silence on the line for a beat. Then Danielle spoke, calm and precise. You did the right thing by not confronting him. Zara let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Danielle continued. If your husband moved assets around the time of a death and you have documentation connecting him to the estate, we may be looking at fraud, concealment, and possibly interference with inheritance rights. Zara swallowed. Possibly, Danielle said again, emphasizing the word. Something criminal. But we don't jump, we build. You said you're meeting a family member. Good. Do not promise anything. Do not hand over originals. Take notes. And Zara, listen to me. If you feel unsafe, leave. Zara nodded even though Danielle could not see. What do I do about our current assets? Zara asked. He's been talking about restructuring, moving things into new entities. Danielle's voice hardened slightly. We can preempt. If we have enough, we can file sworn statements and seek a temporary restraining order to prevent transfers. We can also notify relevant parties and place legal flags on property. But first, we need the fullest picture. Zara thanked her, hung up, sat in silence. Then she did something that might seem small, but it was the first time she truly acknowledged reality. She packed an overnight bag and put it in her car. Not because she was running, because she was planning. The next day, Briar Street Cafe smelled like coffee beans and cinnamon. There was soft music. Couples leaned in over mugs. A student typed on a laptop. Normal life all around, while Zara's world shifted under her feet. Maya Bennett walked in at 2:01. She looked like Simone in the eyes. Same shape, same depth, same tired strength. Maya scanned the room and locked onto Zara like a beam. She approached, standing tall. You're Zara, she said. Yes, Zara replied. Maya didn't sit immediately. She stared. You look like a woman with a life, Maya said quietly. So tell me why my sister's name is in your mouth. Zara gestured to the chair. Please sit, she said. I'm not here to disrespect her. I'm here because I found something that I can't unsee. Maya sat, but her body stayed guarded, like she was ready to bolt. Zara slid her phone across the table and opened the photo of the funeral home receipt. Maya's eyes dropped. The moment she read the name, her face changed. Not surprise, recognition, then pain. She pressed her lips together, breathing through her nose. "That's my sister," she said. Zara's chest tightened. "She used Bennett," Zara said carefully. "I didn't know it was connected. I only found out because of the estate filing." Maya's laugh was short, bitter. "Estate filing," she repeated. "Funny, no one told me there was an estate." Zara's stomach dropped. "They didn't notify you?" Zara asked. Maya shook her head slowly. "No one notified me of anything," she said. "Not the hospital, not the funeral home, not the courts. I found out my sister was dead through a rumor, 2 months after she vanished." Zara's fingers curled against her cup. "Vanished?" Zara repeated. Maya's eyes flashed. "She disappeared," Maya said. "One night she stopped answering. Her phone went to voicemail. Her job said she hadn't come in, and he, Ethan, told the police she was unstable. He said she ran off. He made it sound like she was dramatic." Zara felt the room tilt. "He told me he was divorced," Zara said quietly. Maya's face hardened. "He told you that because it makes him look clean," she said. "Because if he tells people his wife died, then they ask questions. Who dies with no family at the funeral? Who dies and gets cremated that fast? Who dies and leaves everything to the husband who married her?" Zara swallowed. Maya leaned forward. "Tell me the truth," Maya said. "Are you married to Ethan Caldwell?" Zara didn't flinch. "Yes." Maya exhaled sharply like a blade being drawn. "And you didn't know her?" Maya said. It wasn't a question. "No," Zara replied. "He never said her name." Maya stared at her for a long moment. Then her voice softened, just a fraction. "You're not here to defend him," she said. Zara shook her head. "I'm here because I found paperwork," Zara said. "And the dates don't make sense." Maya's eyes narrowed. "What dates?" she asked. Zara opened a folder in her bag and slid a copy of the property transfer across the table. Maya read it. Her jaw tightened. "This," Zara said, pointing, "was transferred one day after the funeral receipt date." Maya's fingers trembled on the paper. "He moved her assets," Maya whispered. Zara nodded. "And there are more," Zara said. "An LLC created days later. A trust. Accounts closed. It lines up like steps." Maya sat back slowly. Her eyes glazed for a second, like she was looking at the past and the present at the same time. "I tried," Maya said, voice breaking but controlled. "I went to the police. I begged. They treated me like I was being dramatic. Like my sister was a grown woman who probably just ran off." Zara's throat burned. Maya's voice turned sharp again. "And then he showed up with a death certificate," she said. "Not even to me, to the police. He said she died in hospital after a sudden illness. He said there was no point in contacting family because Simone didn't speak to us." Maya laughed, but there was no humor. "My sister called me every Sunday," she said. "Every Sunday. Even when she was angry at the world, even when she was tired, she called." Zara's hands clenched under the table. "Do you have any documents?" Zara asked gently. "Anything you filed? Any reports?" Maya nodded and pulled out her phone. She opened photos of missing person posters, emails, a case number. "There," Maya said. "That's the detective, or the one who was assigned before they closed it." Zara took a photo of the case number. She looked up. "Maya," she said softly, "I can't undo what happened, but I can help stop what he's doing now." Maya's eyes narrowed. "What is he doing now?" she asked. Zara hesitated, then said the truth. "He's been talking about moving assets again," Zara said. "Restructuring. He's planning something, and I think he's doing it because he thinks no one is watching." Maya's expression turned cold. "He always does that," she said. "When he feels pressure, he moves money, he moves property, he moves the ground under your feet." Zara nodded. "That's why I didn't confront him," Zara said. "I wanted you to know first, and I wanted legal advice first." Maya studied her for a long moment. Then she said something that landed like a warning and a blessing at the same time. If you're going to go against him, you need to understand, Maya said. Ethan doesn't fight like a normal person. He fights like someone who's never been told no. Zara met her gaze. I'm not a normal person either, Zara said quietly. I'm just quiet about it. If you're still with me, drop a comment that says paper trail, because sometimes the only thing louder than a lie is the ink it leaves behind. Zara and Maya left the cafe separately, like strangers, because Zara knew Ethan watched patterns. He watched who arrived with her, who left with her, who became part of her circle. That night, Ethan came home carrying a small jewelry box. A little surprise, he said, smiling. Zara's stomach turned, but she kept her face smooth. He opened it. A bracelet, elegant, expensive. He lifted it toward her wrist. Zara let him clasp it. She let his fingers touch her skin. And as he fastened the gold, Zara realized something that made her blood run colder. This was not romance. This was insurance. He was reinforcing the bond, strengthening the image, making sure she felt claimed. Because somewhere in his mind, he already sensed the air shifting. Zara smiled and thanked him. Then she excused herself to the bathroom, locked the door, and called Danielle Price. Danielle listened as Zara summarized the meeting with Maya and shared the case number. Good, Danielle said. We move fast. He's likely about to execute a transfer. If we can show a credible risk of dissipation of assets, we can seek an emergency order. And if we tie it to potential fraud against an estate, we create pressure. Zara leaned against the sink, staring at her own eyes in the mirror. What do you need from me? Zara asked. Danielle's voice was crisp. Sworn statement, she said. Timeline. Copies of the receipt, the probate filings, property transfer records, and any communication from him about upcoming moves. Also, Danielle paused, we need to document your discovery process, how you found it, where it was kept, if it was concealed. Zara swallowed. I can do that, she said. And Zara, Danielle added, do not tip him off. Keep things normal. Zara laughed under her breath. Normal, she repeated. Yes, Danielle said. Normal is your camouflage. Over the next week, Zara became an actress in her own home. She made breakfast. She asked about Ethan's meetings. She smiled at his jokes. She went to dinner with his friends and wore the perfect wife like a fitted coat. And in the quiet moments, she built her case. She photographed the shoebox contents in place. She recorded dates. She printed records. She also noticed something else. Ethan's phone calls. He made them in the garage now, not in the kitchen. He lowered his voice when he said certain words. And once, when he thought Zara was asleep, she heard him say a phrase that made her sit upright in the dark. Get the beneficiary form sorted, he said. It's the missing piece. Zara stayed still, barely breathing. Beneficiary form. Missing piece. The next day, she checked the shoebox again. She found a sticky note she hadn't noticed before, tucked behind the funeral home letter. 2 words, scribbled fast. Beneficiary form. And beside it, a small circle drawn like a bullet point. Zara stared at it until her vision sharpened. That was the Part 2 seed, sitting right there in ink, like a door she hadn't opened yet. But for now, she focused on the move in front of her. Ethan was preparing to sell one of the properties. She found out by accident, or what Ethan would call accident. A letter arrived addressed to him from a title company. Zara opened the mailbox. She saw the return address. She didn't open the letter, but she photographed the envelope and sent it to Danielle. Danielle replied within minutes. This is it. We file today. That afternoon, Zara sat in Danielle's office, signing a sworn statement with hands that did not shake. She wrote the facts. She wrote the dates. She wrote the discovery of the funeral home receipt. She wrote the connection to Simone Bennett's estate and the lack of notification to surviving family. She wrote Ethan's ongoing plans to transfer and sell assets. Danielle added legal language Zara didn't try to memorize. Zara didn't need to understand every phrase. She only needed to understand the purpose. Block his next move. Danielle filed an emergency motion. She prepared notices. She contacted the title company with a legal warning. She also did something that made Zara's breath catch. She looped in a detective, privately, providing the case number and requesting a review of the missing person file in light of new documentation. Zara left the office with copies of everything in a folder and a calmness that felt unfamiliar. Not peace, readiness. That night, Ethan came home glowing. "Big day tomorrow," he said, loosening his tie. "Closing's nearly done. After this, we'll finally be able to breathe." Zara smiled. "That's good," she said. Ethan stepped closer, studying her face. "You've been quiet lately," he said. Zara tilted her head. "Just tired," she said. "New marriage, new house, lots of boxes." Ethan's eyes lingered on her for a second too long. Then he kissed her forehead. "Get some rest," he said. Zara went upstairs and lay beside him later, watching the ceiling in the dark. Tomorrow, Ethan thought he was sealing a deal. Tomorrow, Zara was sealing accountability. The next morning, Ethan dressed in his best suit. He checked his watch twice. He hummed a little tune under his breath. He kissed Zara goodbye at the door. "Wish me luck," he said. Zara smiled softly. "Good luck," she said. The door closed. Zara counted to 10. Then she called Danielle. "He's on his way," Zara said. Danielle's voice was calm. "Good," she said. "We're already moving." Zara sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug she didn't drink from. Her phone buzzed an hour later. Unknown number. Zara answered. "This is Officer Reyes," a man's voice said. "I'm calling regarding the reopened file connected to Simone Bennett. Are you Zara Caldwell?" Zara's stomach flipped at the surname. "Yes," she said quietly. "We received documentation," Reyes continued. "We may need to speak with you formally. For now, do you feel safe?" Zara stared out the window at the calm street. "Yes," she said, "for now." Another hour passed. Then the call came that changed the air in the house. "Ethan." Zara answered on the second ring. "What did you do?" Ethan hissed. Zara's heart stayed steady. "What do you mean?" she asked. His voice cracked with rage held on a thin leash. "The title company just froze the closing," he snapped. "They said there's a legal notice. They said my name is tied to a probate dispute." "Zara," his voice dropped, dangerous. "Tell me you didn't do this." Zara took a slow breath. She could have argued. She could have accused. Instead, she spoke in a tone that felt like steel wrapped in velvet. "I found Simone's paperwork," Zara said. "I found the funeral home receipt. I found the probate filing. I found property transfers." Silence on the line. Then Ethan laughed, one sharp sound. "You went through my things," he said. "That's your defense, snooping." Zara didn't rise to it. "You hit a death," Zara said, "and you moved assets around it." Ethan's voice turned cold. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said. "Simone was unstable. She did this to herself. I cleaned up the mess she left behind." Zara felt a flash of heat, but she kept her voice calm. "She had a sister," Zara said. "Maya. She wasn't notified. That's not cleaning up. That's erasing." Ethan's breathing was audible now. "You met Maya," he said. Zara didn't answer. She didn't need to. He already knew. His voice dropped even lower. "You think you're clever," he said. "You think you can play lawyer. Zara, listen to me. You are my wife. What you do reflects on you." Zara's lips curved slightly, but there was no softness in it. "That's the point," she said. "I'm your wife. Which means when you try to move money again, it touches me. And I'm not going down with you." Ethan's voice rose. "You have no idea what you've started," he said. Zara's voice stayed even. "I do," she said. "I started the part where you don't get to keep winning in silence." She hung up. Her hands shook after, but only for a moment. Then she stood, walked upstairs, and took the overnight bag from the wardrobe. She didn't pack in a panic. She packed with purpose. She left the house and drove to a small hotel Danielle had recommended, one that didn't take names loudly at the front desk. She locked the door behind her and sat on the edge of the bed. And for the first time in days, she let herself feel the weight. Not just fear, grief. Because somewhere in this story, a woman named Simone had been reduced to paperwork, and Zara had stepped into a role Simone never got protected by. Zara's phone buzzed again. Danielle. The judge granted a temporary restraining order pending hearing, Danielle texted. He cannot transfer or sell. Next move is hearing in 72 hours. You did well. Zara stared at the message. Then she opened a new one to Maya. We blocked the transfer. Hearing soon. I'm safe. I'm not stopping. Maya replied almost immediately. Thank you for seeing her, for not letting him bury her twice. The hearing was quiet, but it was not small. Ethan arrived with a high-priced attorney, and a smile meant to reassure the room. Zara arrived with Danielle and a folder of evidence that made the air feel heavier. Ethan's attorney argued that Zara was a jealous new wife, meddling in old matters. He suggested Simone was mentally unwell, that Ethan had acted compassionately, that Zara had misunderstood paperwork. Danielle didn't flinch. She placed the funeral home receipt, the probate filings, the property transfers, and Maya's sworn statement into the record. Maya's statement was simple and devastating. I was not notified. I was not invited. I was told my sister ran away. I believe assets were transferred in connection with her death. I request investigation and protection of the estate. The judge listened. The judge asked Ethan questions Ethan's smile could not answer. Why was the death recorded under Simone's maiden name with no family notified? Why were assets transferred immediately after her death? Why was there no clear documentation of beneficiary designations? And when the judge said the words, further scrutiny, Zara watched Ethan's jaw tighten in that same half-second way she had seen at Marlowe's. But this time, he couldn't smooth it away. The court extended the order. The title company remained blocked. The matter was referred for further review. And Maya's counsel, now supported by Danielle's network, filed to reopen estate proceedings properly. Outside the courthouse, Ethan stepped toward Zara, eyes sharp. You ruined everything, he said. Zara looked at him calm. No, she replied. You ruined it. I just stopped pretending it was fine. Ethan's face twisted, and for a second, Zara saw the real man underneath the polish. Then he smiled again, too fast. This isn't over, he said. Zara's voice was quiet. I know, she said. That's why I kept copies. She walked past him without looking back. Weeks later, Zara sat with Maya in a small sunlit room at a community legal clinic. A volunteer brought them tea. Maya held a folder of documents like it was a lifeline. Do you think we'll ever know what really happened? Maya asked. Zara looked out the window, watching people walk by, living ordinary lives. I think the truth is already trying to surface, Zara said. It's in the dates, it's in the transfers, it's in the fact he panicked when the paper trail was seen. Maya nodded, swallowing hard. There's one thing, Maya said quietly. Something I never told anyone because it sounded crazy. Zara turned to her. What? Zara asked. Maya hesitated. My sister once told me Ethan kept a life insurance form in a safe, Maya said. A beneficiary form. She said it went missing after she started asking questions about money. She said if anything happened to her, I should look for that form. Zara's heart slowed. The missing piece. Zara remembered Ethan's late-night call. Get the beneficiary form sorted. Zara's phone buzzed in her hand like it had been waiting for this moment. A new email, no subject, just a scanned image, a corner of a document, the word beneficiary at the top, and a handwritten note in the margin. Ask for the original. The copy is not the truth. Zara stared at the screen, pulse rising. She looked at Maya. Part of this isn't finished, Zara said softly. Maya's eyes narrowed. Who sent that? She asked. Zara swallowed. I don't know, she said, but deep down she did. Someone close to Ethan had just blinked. Someone who knew where the real paper was. And someone, finally, was afraid of what Zara might find next. In the quiet after, Zara sat alone in her hotel room, the city humming outside like distant waves. She thought about how easily charm can be confused for safety, how quickly a polished life can cover rot, and how often women are taught to ignore their instincts just to keep peace. Then she thought about Simone, a name that had almost stayed buried, a life that deserved more than silence. Zara spoke softly, like she was leaving the lesson on the air for anyone who needed it. If something feels off, don't swallow it to be polite. Don't let anyone rush you into silence, and don't let love be used as a blindfold. Love without accountability isn't love, it's control. If this story moved you, comment paper trail and share where you're watching from. And if you've ever found out the truth from a document someone hoped you'd never read, tell me, what was it?